Hello and welcome to another comedian's interview for my blog and podcast, A Rich Comic Life. My name is Richard Gill, and my blog describes my experiences of watching over 1,000 comedians over the last 48 years. I'm delighted to welcome my guest today. It's the wonderful Kate Mcgann. Yay!
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm really good. How are
You
you?
okay?
Yes. Yeah, I had
Brilliant.
a good
Well,
day.
thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast.
You're
And
welcome.
ju- just before we get cracking, I just want to congratulate both you and Rich Wilson, who has been a guest on the podcast as
Yeah.
well, because you're married.
Yes, yes, we're
Yeah!
married. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
This is the first podcast comedy couple of
Oh,
so well done. Congratulations. Best news
thank you
of the
so
year.
much.
I'm
Oh,
delighted
thank
for
you.
you.
Yeah, we're really
Um,
pleased.
so the interview is going to last about 45 minutes to an hour.
hmm
And I'd like to go right back to the start and ask you, how did you become a comedian in the first place, please?
So I was always an actress and always sort of performing and on
Right,
stage and I did like emceeing or cabaret nights. And then about 10 years ago, my friend did a like Groupon stand-up course, like one of those 2 day, like learn to do stand-up, get more confident. And, there was a guy, so basically he asked me to go on it with him because he didn't want to do it on his own. So I did that with him, and there was a guy who was a best man and he wanted to like get his speech right really funny, and so it was kind of just like another thing to do. And I dabbled. I did a couple of gigs like a few 10 years ago, and I put on a couple of nights as well. So I
right,
sort of, that was in London, and then I stopped for a few years and moved to Australia.
right.
And then when I moved back to Brighton in 2015, I did a play. And then in 2017, somebody who I was in a play with was like, you're really funny. You should do stand up. And I was like, well, I kind of dabbled years ago, but I haven't really done anything with it. So I started properly. I sort of count it from 2017. So
2017. Okay.
yeah,
So,
and then I did So You Think You're Funny
yeah.
um, in 2019, and because I hadn't really gone full throttle. You know how some comics start and they do like hundreds of gigs. But no, I was very much like a once a month kind of a dipped my toe in.
Right.
But then the
So,
rest is history. Yeah.
well, that's brilliant. So your first ever gig
Yeah.
properly was 2015, somewhere around there. Is that right?
My first like proper stand-up gig that I did it at Dirty Dick, so that must have been in about 2000 and oh my God, 12
That's
probably.
Liverpool Street.
Yeah, so I did like
Been there.
5 minutes and it was terrible. It was so bad, Richard. It was really, really bad. Um, it was, oh God, it was just like I really shouldn't be doing this. But because I did like making people laugh, and I loved doing comedy plays and comedy like acting. So but like I would definitely count my first like proper gig would be 2017, sort of starting again
And where
um
was that?
in Brighton. So I was
Right.
starting because there's so many gigs and open mic venues in Brighton. Like we're kind of spoilt for choice, really. That you could gig every night if you wanted to. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't, but yeah. So I did a gig. It was at Junkyard Dogs
Oh,
in
yeah. No, I know it well because I go to the Brighton Fringe every year,
yes, yes.
just
So
for
now
a couple of days or so, and I absolutely love it. It's like a little taster for the Edinburgh Fringe.
oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
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 Oh, fab. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Oh, wow.
Junkyard Dogs, they used to have a venue in Kemp Town,
Right.
but now they've moved. They don't have the actual venue anymore, but they've still kept their name. So they sort of pop up in different venues, which is great. So
That's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
So, when you first started out, or any time during your career, have you ever found it difficult to get spots in comedy, because there's so many comedians nowadays? How do you go about booking into a comedy night? Do the promoters contact you, or do you contact them?
Well, it sort of depends on the level, really, because if you're just doing an open mic,
Yeah,
um, I mean, Facebook is a blessing because you can just join all these like local groups and
yeah,
go, I want to do a gig here, and if it's open mic and you're not getting paid, then it's super easy, like to just get a 5 minute spot. But I'm not sort of at open mic level anymore. I mean, it's great if I need to try out a new material, so I just
yes, yeah.
use like one of the local nights. There's a really good night called what used to be called Type Five, and then it got changed to Bunch of Fives, and now it's called Kool-Aid Comedy. So it's the same night, but it's just changed its name.
Right.
So that's great, and it's just nice to use, those for new material. So you go up with your book, and it's all very kind of relaxed, and you can go, oh, that didn't work, and you could scrub it out. And there's another one on the seafront called Electric Arcade,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's every Monday, and
I've
it's
been
such a good
there.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and
yes.
that's nice because it's like 10 minutes of where you're just kind of spitballing ideas, really. So yeah,
It's
that's easier.
it's interesting because the reason one of the reasons why the blog started was I want to promote both established and new comedians.
Mhm.
So I've been the quote friend of so many comedians who have tried 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and I
The
go along,
bringer.
and I should ensure my laugh because it just
It's
rocks the room, and then
Yeah, it is infectious, your laugh. But I
but
mean, I think that helps because once you've got like, if you're in a quieter audience and then
yeah,
you're there and your laugh is so infectious that it just sort of brings up the whole energy of everyone else,
well,
So
that's lovely to
then it
say.
just
Thank you
starts.
so much. I should insure it. I know.
Trademark it.
What do you like to talk about on stage? Have you got any specific themes or anything like that?
I just talk about sort of my life really. I'm not very political. I don't really talk about current affairs and things, but I talk about things that make me laugh. I mean, most of my sort of material is about dating, but obviously now I'm married, so that's going to change a bit. But I actually need to write new material, so I'm going to be going to some of those open mics. Um, but yeah, no, I was saying before, like going now I'm sort of at that weird level where I'm sort of not getting paid gigs regularly, like where I'm enough, but I'm also not. I'm above sort of doing open mic levels, so I'm sort of in this weird in betweeny phase. So some gigs I do are amazing, and I've been asked to do them, and I get booked on these brilliant lineups, and
Yeah,
then other times I'm sort of people don't know who I am, so I'm still in that weird phase where I'm trying to get my name out there and trying to get known by everyone, and to try and get my career going a bit more. So yeah, when I'm on stage, I need to write a bit more material, I think, about being married, and I just write about things that make me laugh. It's always a bit blue as well. I like a bit of rude
lovely. So do
comedy.
I.
Because that's what makes me laugh. I think, I love talking about willies and bums. It's so stupid, but that's what makes me laugh. So I think
um,
as long as you're making yourself laugh, that's the main thing.
would you say that the more experience you have on stage, the better a comedian you are?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to do the groundwork. I mean, you can't run before you can walk. Like I wouldn't dream of doing an hour Edinburgh show. I have done sort of 45-minute hour at Brighton Festival, but then this is my hometown,
yeah,
and all my friends will come, and it's a very sort of safe environment because I know the venues, I know the audience who'll come. Whereas Edinburgh is petrifying. So I even
Daunting.
though I feel like I've been doing comedy like 5 years properly, and I know I had a bit of a gap during the pandemic, but I think I need to build up to do that like hour
Yeah,
long show. So it's definitely about experience. Yeah, just
very
get
much so.
as
Yeah.
many gigs as possible under your belt.
I always say as well, I can't imagine you ever having a bad gig because you're so bubbly and enthusiastic on stage. But my guess is that you have to have the bad gigs to become a better comedian as well as the
Yeah,
good ones. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I
Again,
mean,
it's all experience.
yeah, I mean, one person's bad gig is another person smashing it. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, so it's all
Yeah.
subjective. But I mean, I did a gig like this week, for example, at the Bill Murray, and it's, a venue that's hallowed. Like, I've always wanted to be there. I've always wanted to perform there, and it was really exciting to do my first gig there, and it was 10 minutes. Um, and the traffic was really bad on the way, and I was really stressed, and it was all a bit of a
Oh
palaver
dear.
getting there. And then I literally got there with I like to get there about half an hour before, so I kind of, have a drink and settle in
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. Get yourself
prepare.
sorted. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of prepare. And I did okay. Like I got big laughs, but yeah, I just didn't feel like I smashed. I didn't feel like I did my best. So even though I didn't die,
Mm.
I know that because of the situation, because I was first on as well, and I'd had a really stressful day at work because I'm still working in the day. So having that kind of like stress, all those elements do kind of add into it. So you've got to be in the right frame of mind, and sometimes I feel like I don't do as good as a job like at other times. But sometimes I smash.
I think
It's all the same stuff.
it's very true to say because it's similar with me. I mean, I've been watching comedy, as I said at the top, nearly 50 years. But I worked in the civil service for 17. I've been in London for half my life. My home city's Carlisle. Um, and then I worked in a school, and it got a bit monotonous and a bit
Mm,
routine, and I needed something other than the routine. And of
yeah,
course, I found comedy, and I love going to see as many shows and discovering new talent and all the rest of it.
yeah.
Since May, I've got a brand new job in the council, which I absolutely love. So personally, I'm having a fantastic year because I've got the comedy and
Yeah, you've got
and the
both.
thing. But I know exactly what you mean. It's like having something else other than the norm
Mm,
to keep going, really. And I think
yeah.
comedy offers that in a lot of certainly a lot of comedians I've talked to.
Yes,
Yeah, do you
absolutely.
agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, I'm freelancing, so I don't
Right.
have like a permanent job, but I'm really lucky in the sense that I can jump in and out of things
Yeah.
because I used to work in events. So it's
Right.
one of those industries that will forever need people jumping in and out, not necessarily permanently, but ad hoc. So at the
Yeah.
moment, it's really the place that I'm working for is a massive prop and costume makers. So
Oh,
they're like
brilliant.
so busy at the moment. But then in the new year, they might be a bit quieter. So
Yeah.
it kind of works in its favor, really. We're kind of
Yeah.
helping each other out, which is good.
That's fantastic. When you're on stage, how do you remember all your routines? Have you got a method?
I bullet point everything, so I have like a word that will remind me of what joke it is. So I
Right.
do a joke about an MOT, and then I just write like MOT. So I'll know sort of the bullet points. And I do change it up. I do change the order of it. So it's not always the same because otherwise I get a bit bored of saying the same
Yeah.
material over and over again. Um, and sometimes, obviously, if I'm doing like 10 minutes somewhere and then 15 minutes and then 20 minutes and then 5 minutes, so you have to keep doctoring what you're doing. Um, but I just remember like in bullet points the jokes.
That's brilliant. That's that because a lot of people have different ways of doing it. A lot of people write it down on the hand. A lot of people have
Yeah.
notes.
I feel like if I write it on my hand, I'll look at my hand.
Yeah.
Um, but I trust that I'll know the next bit.
Mm.
And also because I think I'm used to learning lines, like being an
Yeah,
actress.
yeah, yeah.
So to me, it's like learning lines. Like when I first start writing a new joke or a new bit of material, I write it longhand.
Right.
So I write it as I'm going to say it. Like even to the point of saying "Good evening, everybody." Like you know,
Well, this is me.
yeah, and because then it sort of goes in because you're reading it like a script. Um, some people just write notes in their phone. I have it in my phone, so I look at it just before going on. But no, sometimes I find if I've written it on my hand, I will kind of. I'm not very. My writing's terrible as well. So I'd be like, "What does that say?" Like, and also hand sanitizer doesn't help either because at the
No,
moment, as soon as you put hand sanitizer on, it rubs
that
off.
would, yeah, defeat the object of it. It's
Yeah.
it's it's interesting because other than my blog, the
Mm.
most creative thing I've ever done, I wrote a play which was we performed for Comic Relief,
Oh
and
wow.
I originally wrote it for I wanted to put it on at the Edinburgh Fringe. I might still do. In a nutshell, it's called The Applicant, and it's basically about me, and the my character in it has a successful girlfriend, and she's based in London. I'm in Carlisle, and I come down to London to be with her. But I've never had a job interview, so I want to get a job, and it's a series of job interviews. That The first one is I know nothing at all, and by the end of it, I get given my ideal job,
Oh
but for
wow.
plot reasons, the interviewer kills me, and the last it's a comedy,
Yeah.
and the last scene is me at the gates of heaven or hell being interviewed by God. And God says to me, "We've been watching you on planet Earth, and we think you would make an ideal job interviewing corpses." And I shrug my shoulders, and the lights go out.
Ah,
The reason I'm telling
that
you
sounds
this
good.
is it went through the roof, and I'm trying to resurrect it, and hopefully I will do. But it was written monologue interview, and
Mm.
so I was sitting in a waiting room, looking round on my own, and then start talking to the audience and monologue and my story, and then the interviewer comes on. My mate played all the interviews. When I ran out with the first monologue on the first night, I forgot the monologue entirely, and I was like a rabbit in headlights. And we'd been rehearsing this for 10 weeks, and I'd even written the thing. And I'm thinking, how am I going to remember it all? And so that's why I asked the questions. You see, with the thing.
Yeah.
When my mate came on and we bantered off each other, I never forgot another word. But it was, I don't know, it was like the not the fear of the moment, but it's like you're actually going ahead and doing it, and
Yeah.
it follows on to another question I wanted to ask you about getting nervous on stage. Do you ever get nerves before you go on stage, and how do you cope with them?
I
Yeah,
do. I
yeah,
think nerves are good. I think it I think it's important. I like it. It's good to look relaxed on stage. But I think a little bit of like a before you go on gives you sort of energy, you know. I enjoy it a little bit, but weirdly, I don't get nervous all the time. I get more nervous acting and in a play because you're remembering lines,
yeah,
and
yeah.
if you screw up your line, then this person can't say their line, and you know what I mean. Like there's more. I feel like there's more risk. Whereas doing stand up, if you fluff a line, you can go, "Oh, I fucked that up," like, and then you can kind of, do you know what I mean? Like you can
I know what
kind of
you
go,
mean. You can,
"Oh,
you can.
I've made a mistake," and then
There's a
you can
sense
kind
of
of look,
admission. Yeah,
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 and then
yeah,
also because it's you. If you do stuff in a different order, the audience aren't going to know that you did it in a different
yeah.
order, so it's fine. So there's less risk, but I mean, I've got friends that are actors and that have been actors for years that say, "I don't know how you do stand up. That's insane," because it's so scary. So it's weird, but the when I get the most nervous, genuinely, is doing if I do like a competition or a gong show.
Yeah.
That is like next level nerves. I get really nervous
Why is that?
because there's that threat of when you do a gong show and then there's like people are gonna hold up a red card. Like I
It's
did it
horrible.
at the Frog and Bucket in Manchester, which is an amazing venue,
A lovely
and I'd
place to be.
absolutely
Yeah.
love to play there. Like do just a straight 10-minute
Yeah.
set
Yeah.
because I feel like it would be a very different experience and I'd really enjoy it. But I did the Beat the Frog, and I was honestly I was so nervous beforehand. I thought I was going to be sick, and I was just like, "This is awful. Why have I done it?" And then I managed to get to 5 minutes, and I managed to beat the frog, and it was fine. And I was in the final, and but there were some other people that were really good as well. So someone else won it, but I just get so nervous doing it that I just I don't really.
But they are, as you say, I think they are a good thing, nerves. Would you say that if you're nervous beforehand, if you walk onto the stage and then as soon as you get the microphone and speak, the nerves go?
Yes, yeah,
If you want
definitely.
to,
It's
because you're in control of the audience.
I think I get that sort of like pit, when you get like in the pit of your stomach, you go. "Ugh."
Yeah, yeah,
So I
horrible.
get that right before I go on, and then as soon as that's subsided, and as soon as I'm on stage and I relax into it, I'm fine.
You're
But
fine.
a lot of the time, if I think about what I'm saying, I sort of fluff my lines because I suddenly
Oh,
go, "Oh, hang on a minute, I said that. No way." But if you're just in that what's called like a flow state, where you're just like, "Bah, yeah," and then this, and then you sort of banter and
you're away.
dip in
Yeah,
and out of your material, and I love it when you get to that state. That's so good. Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
such a
yeah, yeah.
great place to be when you're just like on fire and everything's going really well. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I've told this story to many a comedian on this podcast.
Mhm.
I've actually had a go at stand-up comedy myself to
Have
get it out of the
you?
system, and it was a gong show. Yeah,
Oh God.
I know the promoter who I've known for years and years ago. He said to me, "I've got a gong show. It's for old people. It couldn't be worse. This." And if you want to have a go, you can go on it. So I did this, wrote this sketch thing out, which was me being accident prone in driving around Carlisle in cars, and he loved it, and he said, "Oh yeah, you'll be really good." You know, he got 5 minutes, and I walked out. There was three people in the audience, three old men, and the first thing I said to them was, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. People think I look like Eddie the Eagle Edwards, the ski jumper, but I can't see the resemblance myself. And of course, I'm his double." And one old bloke in the back just went, "Fuck off!" And I got off. And the
Oh.
promoter says, have another go. And I walked back on. Similar thing happened. And I said, "I don't know whether this is for me." I said, "Maybe my calling is sitting in the audience supporting you all, but never say never again. Never say never again." But
It's
it's funny
scary.
when you're talking about gong shows.
Yeah, there's just something about them. I think because there's a threat. I mean, I did King Gong at the Comedy Store,
Yeah,
and I lasted like nearly 3 minutes,
right.
but it was
That's good.
genuinely like the longest 3 minutes of my life, and it was gladiatorial. Like it was like whoa, like everyone was just so
Wow.
like. There was one guy, bless him, he didn't even get to the microphone. Like he
Oh,
didn't
wow.
even, and the red cards went up. And then Laura Lex was emceeing that particular one.
She's brilliant.
And she's brilliant. She's such an amazing
Yeah.
comedian. And she lives in Brighton as
Yeah.
well. And we did a gig together. And I said, "Oh, I actually, you emceed the King Gong that I did. And I won't ever do it again." And she said, "I won't do it again." Well, she went,
Brutal.
I mean, I don't know if she has since. It might have been fine. But she said that particular night that she did, even she wasn't in control. Like the audience
Yeah.
were just on one, like they were just desperate to like humiliate. And it's that thing of like humiliating people. Like some audiences, they've got your back and they want you to do really well,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they're like egging you on, like, yeah, you can do it, you can beat the gong. And some people have done that night and it's been amazing, and they've smashed it, and they really enjoyed it. But the particular night that I did, the audience were not up for it at all. And not that they weren't up for it, is that they weren't being supportive. They just wanted people to feel like shit.
Mm.
Like that was their thing. And then even Laura said she really struggled with them because they were just like raucous, and it was
I
wild.
find that fascinating because whenever I go to a comedy night, I'm
Mm.
there to support and I'm not there to heckle or to
Oh.
shout out or anything like that. And I've been in audiences where hecklers have sat or been unsupported and all the rest of it. We're not here to hear them. We're here to hear the comics and we're here to have a good time. So I can't really get my head around it other than to say that it is all experience, to
Mm.
go through something like that. You'll be ready for it should it ever happen again, God forbid, because
Yeah.
you get better as you go on and you go on. Let's move on. You mentioned before about the semi-final. Was it the semi-final of
Yeah,
season 20?
well, I got through to the final. Yeah,
The
so
final. Well done,
yeah,
you. Well
thank
done, you.
you.
My my.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
No, yeah, it was in 2019. So the winner was Finley Christie.
Yeah,
And obviously he's doing really well at the moment. And
yeah.
the runner-up was Charlie George and Shane Byrne. Like they're all so funny. So I think the final that we did, the competition was insane. Like the
Well done, you.
level of
For the
and
final.
Claire House was, I can't remember
Yeah,
everyone, but the level of eight of us that were on, it was just like so good. I mean,
that's
I was honored
fantastic.
to be included in that
Well
group.
done, you. Congratulations. That's
Thank
brilliant. The
you.
the
Lovely.
the the question that goes with that is, what is your view of comedy competitions? Do you think they're a good thing overall?
Yeah, I do. I think they're a really good platform. I mean, because with So You Think You're Funny, you have to have done under, I think it's 20 gigs or 25 gigs, I can't remember.
Right.
Or you have to have been doing it under 2 years. So it's very much a new act competition. I don't know if that rule has always been in or if it's just a new thing, but when I did it, I was lucky because I had done, even though I'd been doing it for a long time, I'd done under 20 gigs. So like proper stand-up gigs. So that was one thing, but it was just spread out over like a long time because I was very half-hearted about it. And I
Oh.
spoke to Julia, and like I've I've done a cabaret shows, and I'd done loads of emceeing, but as actual straight stand-up, like yeah, it wasn't that many. So I think they're a really good idea. I think they're a really good platform.
Yeah, yeah,
And I mean I love going to watch them as well. Like I think they're brilliant. And So You Think You're Funny is an institution. Like it's just brilliant. Like
yeah.
I always try and go to, I only managed to get to the semi finals. I didn't manage to get to the final to watch it. But yeah, it's always such a fun night. So
Do you think the competitions improve a comedian's career
yeah,
having
I
done
mean,
them?
like everyone, it's quite nice to like put it on your CV as well. Like it's quite a nice little like finalist of whatever.
It is. It's great. Yeah,
It does it good. I think what it does is that it gives you that platform to put you in front of certain people, and then it elevates you. I mean, it was annoying because I did that in 2019, and then 2020 was going to be my year,
yeah.
and I was like, this is it. And I had like really good gigs booked, and I had the Comedia booked in Brighton, which is like an amazing
It
club. I'm
is.
sure
I
you've
know it
been.
well. Yeah, yeah.
So I had loads of really good things happening, and I was getting to that stage where I was like approaching agents, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be my year, 2020.
And
And
then
then obviously germs got in the way.
horrible.
Um,
Awful time.
but yeah, I definitely, yeah, it's just like, and it basically everything stopped. And I mean, I wasn't well enough known in comedy that I could get paid to do online gigs. I wasn't, I mean, not that anyone got paid during that time, unfortunately, but I wasn't at that level. So I just kind of worked and didn't do any comedy for about a year and a half,
It
which was
was an
sad.
awful time.
Yeah.
The whole industry was decimated. It was just awful. And
It's
thank
so
God you're
sad.
all back now.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Edinburgh. I've been very fortunate to be able to have my holidays at the Edinburgh Fringe since 2005.
Oh, wow.
I've gone every year apart from the 2 years of the pandemic, and I see about 50 shows in a year, and I'm absolutely exhausted at the end of it. But I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of it. Tell me about your first ever Edinburgh Fringe.
Well, I went in 2018
Yeah,
and I went for 4 days on my own. And like I bumped, it was nice because with Edinburgh, you can't walk 2 feet without bumping into someone you know. And obviously, I just started, I'd only been doing comedy like a year, and I sort of bumped into people that I knew. And it was just really nice to see like people from Brighton there. And I did like one gig, and it was in the City Cafe at like 11 a.m. It
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
shit.
Still a gig.
Yeah, it's a gig's a gig. I did that, and so I thought, well, I'll do that, and it wasn't very good. Um, but yeah, it was like to four people. So I went on my own and just to experience it. And the best thing about going on your own, I enjoyed about it was that you could go. Do you remember when they had the app and it was like, "What's on now?" Like what's on right now near
It
me?
was the best thing, and it
The
was
best.
disgraceful that they got rid of it this year.
I know,
And
and
everybody, you couldn't go to whatever you wanted to see. It was ridiculous. You had to plan it all in advance.
well, the thing is that I found I loved about it was that it gave you that opportunity to watch stuff that you wouldn't
Yeah,
necessarily go and see. Like I came across so many things that I was like, right, I've got, you know, a couple of hours before my next show. Like I booked in like big things that I wanted to see, and then I was basically like free in between. So then I like clicked on the app and I was like, what's near me right now? And then I went to, oh, that's comedy or that's theatre.
amazing.
And I just went, and because you were not with another person, you don't have to go, oh, do you want to see that? No, I don't want to see that. Oh, actually, I'm a bit hungry. No, are you hungry? Well, I need the toilet. You know, so it was quite nice that I could just go and please myself. And I
Yeah,
saw so many
the magic of it,
shows.
isn't it? Yeah. So
Yeah, so I squeezed them in. So that was
that was
2018.
2018.
Yeah, and then 2019, I did the semi-final of So You Think You're Funny,
Yeah.
and I went up to Edinburgh, and I stayed with a friend because I used to work for Comic Con, like that was my job. I used
Right.
to work for a big event company,
Yeah.
and the person I worked with is from Edinburgh, and she said, "Oh, if you're going up there, you should stay with my friend Sandra." Who was lovely. And Sandra said, yeah, of course, come and stay here. So I stayed there for a couple of days and then got through to the final. So then came home and then had to work for a week and then go back and do the final. And then we went again, obviously, like the pandemic. And then this year I stayed with Sandra again, but this time with Rich. So we got free accommodation for the whole of Edinburgh, which is unheard of.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so we were really lucky.
Just as an aside, I've been to a Comic Con once, and I got attacked by a Dalek. But that's another story.
I bet you asked for
Anyway,
it.
now I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never, unfortunately, seen you live on stage, but I'm
Oh.
going to change that next year, definitely, or this year if it's still time there.
Yeah.
Where I have seen you, and this is a wonderful story, is the story was I'm on this podcast. I was probably the last person to interview Barry Cryer, which was
Oh wow.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
And My friend Steve Ullathorne, who's the photographer to the comedians at the Edinburgh Fringe,
Yes.
sealed the deal for me. And I'd never met him, and he very kindly got me two passes to the Udderbelly VIP area, and that's where I first met you. And two of you, you and Rich, were so kind. I thought to myself, you would make a wonderful guest, and you are. It's brilliant. So
Oh,
please
thank
forgive
you.
me, but I will get round to seeing you
Oh
very
no,
soon,
that's
because
fine.
I can imagine you to be a fantastic comic. Um,
I do have
uh,
fun.
we will. Just to expand a bit more on your comedy, can you describe your writing process and where you get your ideas from? Do you use a notebook? Is it all in here when you go on stage? How do you process it all?
Well, I have like an idea for something, like if something will pop in my head,
Yeah.
or I'll be saying something to someone, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's quite funny," and then I'll get my phone out, and it's quite annoying because like if I'm out with friends or something, and I say something funny, then I'll put it in my phone, and everyone's like, "Oh, she's writing her notes because she's got your material, it's all going off," and so all material is good material. So I'll sort of have an idea, and then the next day I'll be like, what do I mean sausages? What do I what's
You've
sausages?
just got
Like,
words.
yeah. And I'll be like, what was that about? Like, what was I talking? So then I'll then sit down and sort of work out the joke backwards, or try and find the hook or whatever it is, and then I'll write it out longhand in my notebook, and then the next stage is just to just get up on stage and say it. And if it
Yeah.
gets a laugh, then that's good, and then I build on it. I mean, I'm working on a bit of material now, which I have done on stage, and I've done it on a big stage, but it doesn't quite like finish. Do you
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I need like a hook. And I've done a writing course with a guy called Logan Murray.
Well, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's lovely. And so I've done his writing course a couple of times, and he said to me like, if you need to sort of work something out or think about something, like feel free to just give me a call and we can work stuff out.
That's
And
brilliant.
he's so lovely. And what he does is he sort of helps you play with it, and he ekes out the bits that you want to make funny, and then you'll come up with it, but he'll ask the right things in order for you to come up with it. So I really like how he works. And you know I sort of spitball, and Rich and I will be in the car, and we'll be driving to wherever
Yeah.
we're driving to a gig, and then we'll sort of talk about bits and go, oh, that's a bit that's really funny. And so we will talk about it in the car as well. So it's kind of just working out where the funny is, and that's where I like
That's what
how
it's
that's
all
what I
about.
write. Yeah.
That's a wonderful answer.
Hmm.
To date, what's been your comedy highlight?
Oh, comedy highlight. I definitely think performing at the Comedia in Brighton, because I used to go to the Comedia and watch like for Creator Comedy Nights, and
Yeah, yeah, I've
from a
done that
really
quite a
young
bit.
age, like I was going there. I mean, I'm from Brighton, so I grew up here.
That's
Um,
cool.
so being on that stage for the first time was a really big deal. Like for me, I was like, oh my God, this is it. So that was like and it's just something that I've always wanted to do. I mean, my ultimate goal one day would my dream would be to perform on the stage at the Dome in Brighton,
Right.
because I used to work at the Dome, and that's obviously, or the Theatre Royal, like either or, because I used to work at both
Yeah.
as an usher. So to be a performer on those stages would be amazing. That would be a highlight. But at the moment, it's the Commedia.
Well, I'm sure. I'm certain your dream will come true. I've
Oh,
seen. Who did I saw Josh Widdicombe at Brighton Dome, and I saw Dara O'Brien at that Brighton Dome. They were both
brilliant.
excellent.
Yes,
I've
of course.
never been in. I've been past the Theatre Royal because it's across the road from the Max Miller statue, which I
Yes.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I must make a point of going there. I'm sure it's going to happen.
Oh,
definitely.
thank you. Well,
I
I
can just
saw.
see because I've seen so many comedians over the years. I can just tell I'm going to have a good time watching you on
Oh,
stage
thank
as a
you.
comedian.
I actually saw Sean Walsh recently at the
Oh,
Theatre Royal, and Sean and I know each other. We've known each other for a really long time.
yeah.
We went to sixth form college together.
Wow.
Yeah, so we know each other from Van Dien back in the day, and when he had like long hair and he was all
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
"Whoa." He was like a 16-year-old. So we've known each other for a really long time.
That's brilliant. He's been on here. He was wonderful,
It was
and I
brilliant.
think probably he was the best show we saw at Edinburgh. He was on fire this year with
He did
his
at the stand.
yeah, the stand. He was
So good.
just phenomenal. The
I
show about
loved
his dad. He's just so funny.
it.
Um, so, do you have any ambitions as a comedian? I think you've answered that, playing the Brighton
Yeah,
Dome. But
yeah.
would you like to be on TV? Would you like your own chat show or something like this? Or
Well, I mean, if it happens, like the dream, Rich, the actual dream would be to write and star in a sitcom.
right?
I'm a huge fan of Ashleen B, and her program This Way Up was
Yeah,
amazing,
it's the
and I
best, isn't
really
it?
enjoyed it. And also Daisy May Cooper as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's
That little
her.
kid is superb.
Have you seen her recent program? It's so
Yes,
good.
yeah,
This country and also Am I Being Unreasonable?
yeah,
Um, just, I mean, I'd love to write with someone because I've got an idea for a sitcom,
yeah,
and it's basically about Comic Con and working for the company, event company who put it on. So that is my idea. And it's also because there's been a show where it's been from the actor's perspective called Con Man, starring Alan Tudyk, and it's like a very short series, and like each episode's only about 10 minutes long, but it's really funny and really good. And there's also been obviously like programs like The Big Bang Theory,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, so where they go to a Comic Con. So I just thought it'd be really nice to do it from the perspective of actually being the event organizers because it's a whole new world. It's very different. So I'd love to do that and to get my own TV show and use my acting skills because I've got a degree in it. I might as well use it. Would be my absolute dream, and also to go on tour and do bigger gigs, and that'd be amazing.
Well,
I'd
this
love
is
that.
all coming your way. It's all coming true. That is a fantastic idea for a sitcom, and I've got a deal. All right, if when you write, not if when you write your sitcom about Comic Con, okay, the deal is I want to be in it, and I'll be attacked by that Dalek in the thing.
Yeah, perfect. Done.
Genuinely, I'll hold you to
Sign.
that.
You're
I,
my
I
first
wish you
signing.
every success because the people that you picked out, Ashley B is incredible.
Yes.
She's an amazing comedian, and I was so pleased for this way up
Yeah.
because it's all you can see. There's a lot of her in the writing, and she's just so she comes across so innocent on screen, but the things that happen to her are just like, what's going on here? And that's the magic of sitcom. I wish you so much success with that. I
Oh,
really
thank
do.
you. Yeah,
I
hopefully.
think it's a great idea. Who are your favourite comedians, past and present?
Well, I mean, I've just mentioned Ashleen B. I think she's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of I mean, we've got so many good like female comedians at the moment, and I
Yeah.
love them all. They're just brilliant. I've got tickets to see Kiri Pritchard McLean coming on
So have I
Sunday.
in London.
She's brilliant. I really
She's so
enjoy her.
good.
I saw Rachel Fairburn's show in
Yeah,
Edinburgh as well, and I did a gig with her the other night, and I just think
she's
I've got
brilliant.
the biggest crush on her. I think she's so cool. I
Yeah.
love her. Um, but like in the past, I mean, I've liked so many different comedians. It's all of them. I can't remember now, so that's good. Um,
Did you have comedy growing up in the household?
Not so much. I mean, we had lots of comedy, like not necessarily stand up, But like I used to watch Robin Williams obsessively. The way I recently, obviously, it's so sad what happened to him. And I watched a documentary recently that's about Robin's wish, and
Yeah.
I how he did comedy and how he was just firing. He was just like pew 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 pew. Like
An
his
extraordinary talent.
brain was
Yes.
so clever and so wired for comedy. So I remember watching films like Hook and stuff. Like I just loved everything about Robin Williams. And so that to me he was like my biggest hero like growing up. And just his whole like persona, and when he's on stage he just inhabits that like he's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so
yeah.
clever. So yeah, I absolutely loved him. Um, and like I've seen so many comics, in Edinburgh as well. Like God, I wrote a
There's
list
so many
actually.
of them.
Yeah, I know. I mean, oh God, I can't even. Right, who did I? Edinburgh. Oh, right. Oh, here we go. So we saw. Oh, I love Esther Manito. She's
She's brilliant.
brilliant. Um,
The Fern Lily Phillips I like as well.
yes, yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see her show, and it was always at a time where I was sort of in the middle of doing something else, and I couldn't.
Half
Yeah.
seven is not a good time if there's
It's
loads of
so
people on.
busy. Yeah. And I was like, God damn it. Um, but I loved, I went to see Rich Hardisty's show.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
yeah,
He,
superb.
it blew me away, genuinely. Him and Vittorio Angeloni, his show was amazing. And then I think for me personally, the show that absolutely knocked my socks off and I loved, and I would watch that again and again and again and again, was Amy Gledhill.
Oh,
Um,
she's brilliant.
she's
She's so
so
good.
funny, and she's also, on top of that, she's a really, really lovely person.
Lovely woman. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I really like her, and she's, I've
Yo,
giggled with her, and she's great.
you are so true. There are so many great female comedians at the minute. I love Kerry Godliman. She can
Yes.
do no wrong. She's
Oh
just
no.
superb every time. And I love Jem
True.
Brister as well.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean,
She
Jen's
is just,
a
I saw
Brighton
I saw her
local.
show about the 2019 show, and she did the Monkey Barrel,
Yeah.
and the place was packed out. And by the end of it, they gave her a standing ovation. It
I'm
was
not
just
surprised.
extraordinary
She's
stuff.
so she's so
And
good, and
yeah,
and also Angela Barnes as
oh
well.
yes, of
Like,
course, yeah, 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 yeah,
I
big
mean,
time. I know her really well. Yeah.
she's great, and what was nice, they both came to our wedding, so that was really nice to
Oh,
see.
lovely. That's great. That's wonderful.
So yeah,
Um,
I think what's nice is like bigging up the female comedians, at
yeah,
the
too
moment, and
right.
like people who are coming up and doing really well, like Sakisa, and
Yeah, yeah,
they're all really smashing it. Like
yeah,
Kate Martin is lovely.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good.
Kate Martin is coming on the podcast.
Oh, great!
Jen Brister's done the podcast, and so has Angela Barnes.
You've got all
So
the greats.
all the great female comedians. Um, like me, do you go to a lot of comedy shows as a member of the audience?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, if I'm not gigging, like, and I'm free that night, I'll go to Rich and watch his show. So I do
Oh,
get to see. I support him. I don't heckle. So you're shit. No.
no.
I'm always very nice. But I do love going to see comedy. Yeah, I mean, like I've got tickets. I love going to the Soho Theatre if I can
Yeah,
make it. I mean, I really enjoy going to cabaret as well. So like
yeah,
something that's a bit different. I love. I go and see Jinx Monsoon, who's a drag queen. So I really enjoy drag shows as well. But yeah, I do try and get to see as much comedy as possible. Not so much sort of, local stuff, but I do really enjoy going to get tickets to go and see a show. I mean, my friend went to see Jason Byrne the other night at the Old
oh,
Market, And I didn't go for some reason. I normally go with her, but I couldn't remember, something happened and I couldn't go. And then she messaged me and said, "Oh my God, we're in the pub with Jason Byrne." And I was like, "What?" And so and I went and met them, and then
He
um,
is the nicest person
he's
you could
so
meet.
nice. And what was
He
funny,
and hysterical.
he's so funny. He's
Yeah.
so funny. It's disgusting how funny he is.
I
I mean, he's
I've
been
seen
going for a
him.
long time as
Oh,
well.
he is. I've seen him. I think every year since we've been going to Edinburgh. I've seen him in London, and he now recognises the laugh.
He's like, "Oh,
Hello,
look who's
Richie.
in."
It's so good, so good. If you were on a bill,
Yeah.
a comedy bill, would you stay and watch the other acts?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
right.
obviously, like sometimes it's difficult if you're driving quite a long way, and you've sort of come up to, because I'm working at the moment, so I've got to
Yeah,
be at the studio at like 8:30 in the morning. So it's quite early sometimes. So if
yeah,
I do try and stay if I can. I'll stay and watch everyone because it's only nice, and also I like being there from the beginning as well, so you can kind of hear what the MC says, and
yeah, yeah,
I really like when I do my set, I really like to reference something that the MC has joked about. Um, a person who is brilliant for that, and he also references other comedians' sets, is Michael May.
oh,
Like,
he's
do you know?
brilliant.
Oh, he's so good, and he's such a good MC,
Yeah,
and he will like take bits out of your set and take bits out of like what the audience has said, and he'll just like riff on it, and you're like, that's so clever. Like, I love him, and he's another one. He's just so lovely.
it's so
Um,
good. The,
yeah.
the reason why I ask the questions to the comedians is that there's a section in my blog called "The
Hmm.
Ones That Got Away," and I've written, I think, 25 comedians who have either passed on or I haven't had a chance to see. And top of the tree for me is Morecambe and Wise. I would have loved to have seen them live. They're the reason why this blog exists. I can remember, aged about 4, sitting in a home in Carlisle, and everybody, young and old, just crying with laughter at them.
They're so good. Yeah.
The first ever gig I saw was Les Dawson in Scarborough. He was extraordinary in the 70s. Then Tommy Cooper, then Ken Dodd, then the two Ronnies, and I got the bug, and I just thought, this is amazing. And the start of the alternative comedy, I saw Alexei Sale, I saw French and Saunders, um, Rick Mail I've seen in Carlisle. The first
Wow.
time I came down to London, the first comedy store bill was Phil Jupitus, Linda Smith, um, Charles Fleischer, who went on to voice Roger Rabbit, and he was never
Oh,
seen
really?
again. And it's extraordinary watching all these comedians. Another reason for the blog is to watch them develop. So there was a just recently met Harry Hill, and
Oh my
he's
God.
just the best, and he still holds the record for the best opening line I've ever heard on a gig. I first saw him 30 years ago at the King's Head in Crouch End. He brushed past me, jumped up onto the stage. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really sorry I'm late for the gig. I had to have a testicle brought down." And then there was a pause and everybody laughed. And then he said, "From Derby." And when I met him, I told him this. He went, "I still tell it now and it still gets laughs."
They Willy
Just the
jokes.
best.
It's never not funny. It's never not
and
funny.
it's little magical moments like that what's not to love.
Exactly.
Uh, how have you found any online gigs as opposed to live gigs? Have you done any online gigs?
I did like one and it was
One.
awful. Yeah. It was like the technology, it was when the pandemic had just started
Right.
and we were all in lockdown, and it was like not even a month like into it,
Yeah.
and it was on Twitch, and I didn't know what that was, and I'm not very good at
I still don't.
no, and I'm not very good at technology, and also it was like an open mic thing, and it was just it was basically like, you know, that years ago there was that really fashionable thing that we did called chat roulette. And you basically press like shuffle, and then you get a really grainy like video of somebody, you know, in America or whatever. So it was just like that, and it was just really
Right.
like grainy videos, and everyone was like hunched around their laptops. And you know, this is Rich's laptop and his setup, so obviously that's why it's like good quality. But mine, I've got a really old laptop, I've got a crappy phone, so I've only done one, and it was terrible. So
Oh
yeah,
dear.
yeah.
I don't know how I got through the pandemic without online gigs, but you cannot beat live. I mean,
No.
when the online gigs first started, I used to go. They used to have it used to be always be comedy online. It was the Sean James Happy Mondays comedy
Mm.
night, and it was Jarlath Regan's Irishman Abroad on a Friday. I used to go to all three of them. And certainly at Always Be Comedy, who do them really well. When they all first started off after about a month in, there was no audio. So so here I was sitting here laughing at four walls. Nobody could hear me, and I was getting people banging on the walls. I thought I was going to be taken away. But when they did the audio, you could see that the ones that could do it were chatting to the audience and timing the jokes and all the rest of it. But there
Mm.
was still that little delay. And the thing that I so missed, thank God it's back, about live comedy is that I love to go out on a Saturday night, have a few drinks or a meal with friends, and then go and sit in the auditorium and just think, right, you are going to make me laugh. It's of the moment. So you're there and anything can happen. And that's the magic of it.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
there's nothing like looking at, you know, the whites of people's eyes, like you're
Yeah.
feeling the energy of someone. It's not the same doing it online.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually got tickets for the COVID Arms when that was, you know,
I
not
saw that.
running.
Yeah, it was really good.
Brilliant. And that was such a good idea as well. And I was part of the biggest ever quiz, you know, the world record for
Yeah.
the biggest ever quiz. And that was so much fun. And so I was doing that from home. And then I also watched Jess Foster Q.
Oh, what a
She's
talent.
amazing as well.
Yeah.
She's up there with one of my favorites
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
You and me both. Yeah.
And I watched her show, and I got a ticket and everything. And then about halfway through, I was so fed up with the people going blah, 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 talking and like crunching, and I was like, shut up. So I turned it off because I thought she's got my money, she can have it. I'm gonna go and see it again at some point.
Yeah.
Honestly, what a palaver.
It is. I
So,
mean, thank God live comedy is back because
yeah.
it's just the best. I have so much enjoyed talking to you. You have been a
Thank you.
fantastic guest, and I cannot wait to come and see you live on
I
stage.
will let you know when I've got a good one coming up.
Definitely, definitely, please. Just before we go, is there anything else you'd like to say? Have you got any? Have you got a podcast? Are you writing a book, for example? What's your social media? Anything like that?
Well, my social media, you can follow me. I'm on Facebook as Kate Mcgann Comedian. And also on Instagram, it's Kate McGann Orang, which is my surname with Orang on the end. And
Nice.
that's from Hook. From in Hook, they said Bangarang. So that's
Yes.
from that. And that's a little like nod to Robin Williams there. So yeah, so I'm not. I've got some gigs coming up, but that's it really. I'm not really doing anything. The sitcom is a work in progress.
I'm so
So
looking
yeah,
forward to that. When
and
I'm
I'm desperately looking for an agent as well because I was signed, but unfortunately, the person that signed me left the company, and I wasn't able to be picked up by one of the other agents, so I
oh
had to
dear.
leave. Yeah, which is a shame.
Well, I'm sure that won't be too long.
Thank you. Well, I'm on the hunt, so if you know anyone, send them my way.
I will do, and I'm so looking forward to the sitcom being on
Yes,
TV and in it. Don't forget Dalek
absolutely.
attacker.
100%.
And believe me, I'm going to be first in the queue to see you live
Thank you.
because you've been a fantastic guest. And I wish you so much success. I
Thank
really
you
do.
so
Thank you
much.
so much for your
Lovely
time
to see you.
and all the
Thanks
best
very
to
much.
you. Thank
Bye.
you.